Today, I would like to talk about wide angle photography. So to kick things off, let me just quickly go through what I consider a wide angle focal length. Me personally, I consider it to be anywhere between the 14 millimeter or wider, but 14 millimeter all the way up to a 30, maybe 35 mil in certain circumstances. I think once you start going past the 35 mil range, you're not really in the wide focal length anymore. So that's the range I'm going to be giving it for the purpose of this video. So now that that's out of the way, let's go into why I think you should have a wide angle lens and why you should be using it for a big portion of your photography. And to make this a little bit easier, we're just going to go ahead and break this down into 4 sections, starting off with storytelling. So a wide angle lens allows you to capture more into your scene. So things like movement, activities, locations, these can all be explored a lot further with a wide angle lens. And this will then allow you to go deeper and allow you to get more compositions and more photos of whatever it is that you're trying to shoot. So in the simplest terms, since you have more room in your frame, you can now do more in that frame. So having more room in your frame not only allows you to show your subject and your environment in the same frame, but it allows you to capture the whole scene in a much more interesting way. And this can be really powerful and interesting in many different types of photography. I think a lot of people tend to look at wide lenses as something that's only used in landscape or street photography. And even though that is true, they do shine in those sort of environments, but I've seen them used in really interesting ways in lifestyle, commercial, and even some portrait photography. Moving on to setting the scene. This one kind of goes without saying, but with a wide lens, it allows you to show the viewer where you are. And this would allow you and kind of force you to really think about the composition of your frame. Where a 50 mil or an 85 mil will offer you some really awesome compression that can kind of save you in some circumstances, a wider focal length won't do that, which really forces you to really think about all 4 corners of your frame. It gives you more room to mess it up, but it also gives you more room to be extra creative with it and create a much more powerful and impactful image. And that will open up a world of possibilities that you can do with a wider focal length that you simply cannot do with any other focal length. I kind of look at wider focal lengths kind of a little bit like macros in a certain way, but a lot more versatile. If you don't know what macro photography is, it's basically when you have a lens that can go really close to a subject and capture details that can only be captured with a macro lens or some sort of filter. I kind of look at that in a similar way to wide lenses, where you can only grab a certain type of image with a wide lens. Whereas when you go into the realm of 85 or 50 mil, you can kind of get similar shots by moving backwards or forwards, whereas wider lenses will give you a much more unique field of vision. And whether you're taking photos of the environment itself or a subject like a car or a person in that environment, you'll notice as you get used to wide angle photography that there's simply a different thought process that comes when you're shooting wide. And that leads me quite nicely into the third part, which is it opens new doors. So like I mentioned earlier, since you have more room to mess up, you also have more room to be creative and experiment and play with new composition ideas and new photo ideas. It really does make you think about placement. It makes you think about foreground, shadows, light. Pretty much all the interesting and most important parts of photography really have to be considered when shooting wide. And you are able to then select which ones you're going to focus on and select which ones are not as important for whatever type of photo you're trying to go for. Just like with other focal lengths, you have to be intentional, but wide angle lenses make you have to be intentional in a different way. It makes you look at things a little bit differently. And that moves me on to my 4th point, which is you're allowed to get away with more. Now, what I really mean here is especially with outdoor, landscape, or outside photography, sunlight and weather in general will obviously become a crucial factor in your photos because everybody knows with photography, light is language. And a lot of the times it is actually preferable to shoot in the earlier hours of the day or the later hours of the day so that you get softer, more golden natural light. But if you're shooting with a wide lens, since you have more in your frame and you can essentially shoot more, certain types of photos that you wouldn't be able to take with pretty much any other focal length somehow become completely available and can really shine in more difficult parts of the day. You can focus on structure, you can find shadows, you can maybe play with some black and white landscape photography. There really is a lot of room during hours of the day that would basically be written off for other types of lenses or other type of styles of photography. But having a little wide lens will allow you to take some really excellent photos in less than ideal weather conditions for most types of photography. And that makes it really interesting and it makes it really versatile. And that's basically the next thing I want to talk about, which is its versatility. And not only its versatility in photography, which is pretty much everything we've been speaking about, but its versatility in video as well. Now look, whether you're a photographer only or you're somebody who enjoys photography and cinematography like I do, video is kind of regardless going to be needed for you and your photography business. For your social media, your website, maybe you're going to try to do a YouTube channel. It's 2026 and everybody kind of knows that photography by itself is, it's struggling a little bit right now. We need video and behind the scenes content and content in general and branding to really help push our photography forward. And so you might need to use your photo camera to shoot some video as well, or maybe eventually you want to buy a second camera for video only and keep your photo camera primarily for photography. Everyone's going to have a different workflow, but the point is a wide angle lens for video, especially if you're wanting to shoot behind the scenes and as much content as you possibly can with it with just one lens. A wide angle is 100% the way to go. It's going to make your life a lot easier for shooting both vertical and horizontal content, especially if you have a camera that doesn't support open gate. And on top of that, it's just going to give you so much more versatility in the video world, both for cinematography and filmmaking in general. A wide lens is pretty much as crucial, if not more crucial, in video than it is for photography, just like all the stuff that I mentioned earlier. But on top of that, if you are going to be using it for both longer form content and shorter form content and whatnot, whether it's for your photography camera or for a separate video camera, chances are a wide lens is what you're going to want to go for. So you might as well already own one, right? And I'm just going to finish this video with a little bit of inspiration on why I still think, if you're not convinced by now, why I still think you should get a wide angle lens. It's fun. It's a very fun form of photography. It kind of feels like you're a kid again. It kind of feels like when you first got in your camera and you want to just take photos of everything, basically, right? A wide angle lens really does allow you to just play with things. It allows you to trial and error a little bit. It makes it feel a little bit less structured and it makes it feel a little bit less strict. And that offers a very unique perspective. And yeah, some of the photos might turn out a little bit weird or they might not work, but that's what experimentation and creativity and photography and videography and filmmaking in general, isn't that what this is all really about at the end of the day, right? So I feel like wide angle photography and cinematography can offer you really cool angles. It can really save your life in a lot of professional situations, especially things like real estate and whatnot. It really does offer you a huge versatility and a huge range of options, both from a professional workflow and just an enjoyment workflow. I really think that type of focal length is a key weapon in any photographer or cinematographer's arsenal. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon.